1986, I was standing in the hallway of an apartment building with a gun to my head. The men that held me hostage were addicted to the crack cocaine that I was selling. Now, during this experience, not one doctor, not one nurse, not one social worker, psychologist, psychiatrist thought to ask me what I believe was one of the most significant questions that could have been asked at that time. How are you feeling? And from that point forward, I began to carry a gun every day. If I found myself in conflict, that I would actually shoot first. 16 months later, I found myself in that conflict. I was subsequently arrested and sentenced to 17 to 40 years in prison. And it was in this environment where I actually discovered my light. It was in this environment that my journey as a writer actually began. But I took that pen and I wrote for 30 days. And I completed my first book. But finally, June 22nd, 2010, I walked out of prison a free man. And I can tell you, I'll never forget the moment of walking out of prison. I remember this officer saying to me, "We'll see you back in 6 months." In 2014, I delivered a talk at TED's conference. That talk currently has over 1.5 million views. 26 years to the day I was shot standing on that corner, my memoir, Righting My Wrongs, Life, Death, and Redemption in American Prison, debuted on the New York Times bestseller list, even though they said I'd be back in prison in 6 months. We live in a country where we don't create space for people to have second chances. And I think that the people in this room have the power and the courage and the wisdom to change that. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Good morning. Heard you guys had fun last night. Lawyers do it like that, huh? So I'm an activist architect. I practice a little bit differently. And I've committed my life to addressing systemic change through designs. It was called restorative justice. It is a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that says when a harm has been done, it is a breach of relationship. And that those who've been harmed, it is their needs that must be addressed. It is not a crime against the state. And that those who have committed that offense have an obligation to make amends and potentially repair the harm if possible. It is all about second chances. How do we build an infrastructure for restorative justice rather than punitive justice, as we've been doing for so long? So I decided to ask for directions. I started to run the country's first design studios with currently incarcerated men and women who have often been on both sides of the harm, to figure out what kind of environment would you need to be accountable for your actions? What kind of environment would you need to heal? What kind of environment would you need to face the person that you had harmed? And they had big visions bigger than anything I could have come up with. So I invite you to think with me a little differently about the spaces that we create and that we build, and start from a different belief that justice and love are not disassociated, right? They can be the same thing. And that if we believe that, that's what we'll build together. And then that will amplify. And that's the world that I want to live in with you. Thank you.